Throughout history, empires have relied on more than just power or persuasion to hold their domains together. The Roman Empire, ruler over a quarter of humanity at its peak, understood that public displays of punishment instilled both fear and obedience among its subjects. For the Romans, cruelty was not an accident of power, but a tool sharpened to perfection. Simple beheading, swift and direct, was regularly practiced. So too was the infamous Tarpeian Rock, where traitors were marched to a sheer cliff on the Capitoline Hill and hurled to their deaths, satisfying Rome's need not only for justice, but spectacle. Yet, for the might of Rome, such punishments were sometimes seen as too mild to truly terrify the masses. The most dreaded and iconic form of Roman execution was crucifixion. Although Rome inherited the practice from earlier civilizations, its legions transformed it into a punishment of exceptional cruelty, reserving it for slaves, pirates, rebels, and foreigners. Roman citizens, unless convicted of treason, were typically spared its agony. The process began with the victim being flogged, their flesh torn by whips embedded with bone or metal. Forced to carry the crossbeam, a heavy length of wood, through jeering crowds, the condemned reached the place of execution, often outside the city walls. Their arms were outstretched and fixed by nails or ropes to the crossbeam. This was then hoisted and secured to a vertical stake. Sometimes the legs were also nailed, sometimes simply bound. The victim's position made even breathing laborious. Hours stretched into excruciating days. Ultimately, most died from asphyxiation, dehydration, or the cumulative shock of agony. Guards might break their legs to speed death, but more often the slow torment was the point, a warning on display. Crucified bodies left in the open became a stark lesson to all who passed. History remembers the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, but Rome's appetite for such executions peaked in the aftermath of the Spartacus slave revolt, when 6,000 rebels were nailed to crosses lining the Appian Way as far as the eye could see. Rome's love of spectacle extended to the arena, where death became entertainment. During the infamous gladiator games, criminals and prisoners of war were sentenced to damnatio at Bestias, condemnation to the beasts. Whether given makeshift weapons or left defenseless, they faced lions, bears, leopards, even elephants. Trainers starved the animals beforehand, guaranteeing a frenzied, lethal show for the roaring crowd. With thousands condemned and countless exotic beasts imported from far-off lands, the games created one of history's earliest ecological disasters, decimating animal populations across continents. For parricide, the murder of a close relative, Romans reserved a punishment as bizarre as it was brutal, Poena Cullei, the penalty of the sack. The condemned was sewn into a leather bag with a roster of symbolic animals, a dog, a snake, a monkey, and a rooster, and thrown into a river. In the struggling chaos, the animals would panic, attack, and the river would claim them all. Brutality was the language of power in ancient Rome. Public violence, part justice, part warning, part entertainment, became the hallmark of an empire determined to rule not just bodies, but minds. The echoes of these punishments remind us greatness in history often came at a terrible human cost.